Today, I have the pleasure of meeting with Lahari Neelapareddy, and she's got two businesses. She's a CPA. She's got her own accounting firm, LN Accounting, and she's got a new business she's starting. It's called TaxHero. Super excited. So, how are you today, Lahari?
I'm good. Thank you so much, Warren, for having me on the show. I'm excited to talk about all the sexy things of finance and sales tax.
The things that really get people
Uh,
excited, right?
yep.
Well, tell me how did you? So you're a CPA. So tell me about your journey in starting your business. Your
Yeah.
first.
So mine was, I took the typical route. I think I was, not very adventurous and risk averse at the beginning. So I started my career in public accounting, like most accountants do. Started with a company called Grant Thornton and then moved to Deloitte, one of the big four firms. And I did actually a little something a little different when I was working at Deloitte. I did accounting consulting. So we kind of worked with the Fortune 500 companies and did a lot of IPOs, mergers, and consulting in that aspect, carve outs. And quickly there, I realized I really, really enjoyed what I did. I loved being able to add value to companies, but I really realized I really didn't like who I was doing it for.
Mm,
So just seeing kind of like these large companies get greedier, just even the culture, the work culture that I experienced in the big four just wasn't it for me. I knew that I immediately had to kind of do something on my own. I just didn't know what. I didn't know what was open and what was available to somebody. Because when you think of CPA and accountant, you think of a tax person. So that's really what I thought were my options. But I was surprised to learn that there was a lot more and excited to learn that, a lot more avenues that were open for me. And so I realized my specialty back at Deloitte was with consumer brands.
mm,
And so I realized that I could also consult and do accounting services, bookkeeping, accounting, and outsource CFO services for those brands and brands that I was very passionate about and love to use and things like that. So I started actually working with a few startup brands, quit my job at Deloitte, started my own company, started my own accounting firm. It was just me. Quickly grew and realized I could make this a full-time thing. And I have never looked back since.
that's amazing. Okay, so how do you make the jump though? Like you still have to like commit. You got to take a take a step
Yeah,
off the plate.
I was also kind of worried about that in the beginning. So like obviously I'm an accountant, right? So like to me, numbers have to add add up for me to do it. I'm leaving a luxury six-figure salary on the table to like start my own firm. Obviously you don't need much capital, right? Uh,
Hmm.
but at the same time, I think I needed a like I was like I said, I didn't really like risks, so I didn't want to do that. So what I told myself is that I got a job at McAfee kind of in the interim, and so I told myself, like, hey, if I can start my business and learn all this sales and marketing and get clients and make 50K annually in
Hmm.
revenue, then I'm just going to quit my job and I'm going to take this full time. So that was kind of what gave me the cushion and gave me the leap. I was kind of crazy within like 2, 3 months of me starting. I was able to kind of do that. And the only reason I was able to do that is I actually, like from the get go and from the beginning, I always believed in coaching and
Huh.
mentoring. And so I had at that moment was looking at accounting, coaching programs, accounting, places where I think I fell short. Like obviously I knew how
Hmm.
to do the accounting, but I didn't know how to do the sales and marketing at that time. And so I knew that was like where my, shortfallings were. So I took courses and I was involved in programs with other accountants, and accounting firm leaders so that I could learn from them and I could use that network to keep growing. And within 2 to 3 months, I was able to get a good amount of clients and was able to quit my job and kind of take it full time.
That's awesome. So I love the self-awareness part of this and that you're like, okay, I got to really concentrate on what I think I can grow in and what I need help in and go find somebody that's better at that than I am
Yeah.
and employ them, pay them some money or whatever and get their advice and
Yeah.
coaching.
Yeah. I think that's like very key. I think from the get go, I think it's important to be be self aware as a leader. right? Because it's going to be hard to pivot or to grow even if you're not.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. Either I lost the internet connection or you did. I really want
Okay.
to
No,
catch what you said.
no, no,
So
no. I was just saying that like it's very important as a leader specifically to be self-aware because it's the same way when you're hiring somebody, right? Like you want to hire somebody that doesn't actually have the strengths that you have, that actually has maybe the weaknesses you have. Like as a leader, you shouldn't be paying that much attention to detail. So you want your employees or people that you're kind of putting by your side to have that so that it doesn't fall back on you.
yeah, that's great. I 100% agree. Like if you can figure out your weaknesses, and we can call them weaknesses here. We don't have to be PC, right? We have
Yeah.
we have areas that we're stronger and weaker, and we call areas of opportunity. But if we can figure out our areas of opportunity and hire
Yeah.
people that are really good in those areas, we're going to have a way better organization, correct?
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
So okay, so you jump off the ledge, you've got income coming in. What was the first big aha or oh crap moment for you?
I think it's when I couldn't handle the work, right? I think the first aha, like, and oh crap moment is always like when you're have to make your first hire. You're like, wait, this is
Hmm.
now too real. Because now you're like, I am responsible for someone else's livelihood. That is kind of scary. When it's just you, you know what you can do. It's like you kind of get what you earn, right? Like that's how hard you work is kind of what you earn, what you put in is what you get. And it's just you. So it's not as scary, right? As like if someone is counting on you for their livelihood. And I think for me, that was like the
Yes.
scariest thing for me in a business was when I hired my first US employee was it felt very, very real. And sadly, my first employee didn't work out. And so that was also like the worst moment for me where I actually felt was like, oh my God, like why didn't it work out? And I took it very hard on myself, but realized like, okay, I just need to get better at this hiring. It's not like something I learned at school. you know, I
Yes.
it's something that like comes with time. And so I just had to kind of move past that.
Well, I think I would agree with you 100% that first step, these businesses I'm dealing with right now that are like, oh, I've got to hire somebody. Number one, that's a cost
Yep.
initially, right? So it's like, what is my return on investment? How fast can I get my return on investment? How do I pick the right person? And what am I going to have them do? And all those things are critically important. And you better have a good idea of all those things before you actually hire somebody, which is probably the first big aha for a lot of folks.
Yes, correct. And I think that's like the biggest mistake I made too was like I was ready for the person, but I like didn't have everything outlined, right? Of like, I just need somebody to come in and just do the work. And like I was trying to put a band-aid on my problem by just throwing people at the problem. But
Mhm.
if I were to because it's kind of like you're just moving at a quick pace too, right? Like you feel like you don't have time to put
Yeah.
this into place. But if I were to redo that or do that over again, I think I would not throw people at the problem. I would fix the solution, like put in actual processes and like figure out like what needed to be done and what they would need to do and then bring that person on because so I could set them up for success.
That's brilliant. I just think it's such a great takeaway that you're considering actually what the problem is that you're trying to solve first. And then yeah, processes systems first, and then figure out if you're going to leverage an employee, how you're going to maximize the value and value return for that employee, and then what does success look like for them so they know whether they're doing what needs to be done. And if we as employers don't know what that is,
Yeah.
how do they know?
Yep. Exactly.
All right, so then you hire your first person, and now and you've been in business how long now?
7 years now, almost 7 years.
7 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations
Yeah.
starting another company. So fast forward, now you're building teams. What does that look like versus building just a hiring an employee or two?
So we're in this like interesting spot. So we have about 15 total employees at my
Okay.
accounting firm. And so it's interesting because we're not big enough yet where it's like true teams that I'm building out, but we're not small enough yet where I'm just like adding somebody like an individual person, right? So we're in this weird kind of phase at the moment, but it's been actually like, I think this year, as I reflect back on last year in 2024, I'm like, wow, it actually feels like this is the first time that majority of our employees have been here with us for more than like a year, year and a half now.
Huh.
Like, and truly for me, I really don't see the impact of employees unless they've been there for a year. It truly takes us that
Yeah.
much time because of the type of work we do and the quality we give to our clients is like super important. And so it just feels like we don't get like real use out of a team member until they've been here for a year. So finally, we kind of have that, and it feels like a well-oiled machine at this point. Like it feels
Good.
like I actually feel like, okay, everyone has a handle of it. They know what they're doing. I feel like I'm only really in there when there's issues and to help kind of problem solve it with the team, which is a lot better than I think where I was like even last year with the team. And so now we kind of are, I feel like kind of like, okay, wow, this is now where I actually have the time to be able to focus on my second business, TaxHero, and which is why I'm able to create another business at the moment.
Mm. That's amazing. So how does if you had to describe your culture, how would you describe your culture?
So we are not micromanagers. That's like a big thing. We're all about transparency. So like my favorite word, and I think what I lacked when I was in corporate is what I brought to the table here in both my
Ah,
companies is like the biggest thing I'm all about is transparency. Transparent about our revenue, transparent about our margins, to be honest, transparent about like how we're doing as a business, what's coming in, what are like the risks that are coming in through the industry or just even through our economy in general. And just even like
sure.
and that's kind of what I expect from my employees too. It's like full transparency. So like I don't want them to hide if they made a mistake. I want them to be able to kind of talk about it and be like, I made this mistake. What do I do? How do I respond to a client? And even be transparent with our clients. Like, hey, if
Mm.
something's going to be late, if something you made a mistake on something, we're human again. Like you should own up to it and figure out how we can resolve it and make sure that we don't make that same mistake again. And what processes are we going to put in place to not do that? So I think the main culture of our company in general is transparency. So the team is able to be transparent with me about any feedback and vice versa, good or bad, right? And I'm able to be transparent with them as well across many things in the business.
So I love transparency, by the way, and I think it's such a great tenet for a company. But it really comes down to that first time when somebody comes into your office and says, "Hey, I screwed up." And it's how you
Yep.
react to that little situation that sets the flow for your whole culture because you squash that once and it's over, correct?
Yes, correct. That's so right. Because it's like, it's so easy to blame first, even whenever like clients come back with us with feedback, right? Like, not, we love, like, obviously we get a lot of positive feedback, but let's be honest
Sure.
here. Like, we also get negative, constructive feedback from our clients. When that
Yes.
happens, even like how I approach that is very like, let me figure out what the situation is. Like, I go back to my team. I'm like, hey, what happened here? Let's talk about it versus being like, who messed up? And I think could get easy. It's easy to blame someone. It's harder to own up to it and
Yes.
do better moving forward, right? Like that's all we can do. And so that's the culture I've tried to build with both companies is like, let's talk about it. It's okay if you messed up. Why did we mess up? Like, let's figure out the reason for it so we can avoid it in the future and like set up right processes so that we don't make that mistake or that type of mistake again.
Yeah, you fixed it. Do it
Yeah.
once and learn from it and fail forward, and that's okay. But don't do it over and over again. Now we got a problem.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
do you okay, so then you decided now you're going to start this other company. And so tell me about that. How did that happen?
Yeah, so TaxHero is my second company that I started. So, with my accounting firm, LN Accounting, we specialize in CPG and ecom brands in particular. So in 2018, 2019, and we do accounting and outsource CFO services. So around 2018 and 2019, we were performing as an outsourced CFO to one of our clients that was doing very well. And we realized this
Hmm.
whole like sales tax issue was popping up. That's when it started around that time of 2018. It started getting like a rule was basically passed that out of state sellers and remote sellers have to collect sales tax in certain states if they meet a threshold. Before it
Mm.
used to be like, hey, if you have like a store in the state, you're required, or if you have employees in the state, you're required, which that's still the requirement, but they added this new threshold to basically target remote and out-of-state sellers. So as that kind of popped up and I started digging and figuring out all the nuances and the rules with it, and also as part of being an outsourced CFO, we had to find the solution and like what could solve the problem. So in our firm, we're all about efficiencies, technology, automation as much as we can. So I actually was using TaxJar and Avalara with our clients, and realized quickly that, hey, they don't do everything. It still falls back on the
Mm.
accountant. Like TaxJar doesn't register you for the sales tax permits. Avalara, they do bits and chunks of it, but it still was very expensive for our clients. So we couldn't really use it for our small to medium-sized businesses.
Okay.
So it felt like there wasn't really one solution out there that took the burden away from both the accountant and the business owner. So I decided about in 2019, 2020 time that I was just going to create my own solution. So I had another e-commerce business owner that was also interested in, trying to find a solution because he couldn't find it. And so me and him kind of teamed up together and we created TaxHero. So TaxHero, what the difference is that we do an all-inclusive full stack sales tax solution
Mm.
for e-commerce and CPG brands, which means that it's not piecemealed. It's not like, oh, we do one part of it and another part. We do everything from like setting up the back end to like all the way. If you ever get audited by a state, we support you during that audit.
Oh,
We're like
wow.
the communication with the state. So like basically business owners and even accountants, they don't have to touch sales tax like after they sign up with us. That was a role of it. We wanted to combine like the software and the service together so that we can create a solution that like really just took it off of both the accountants as well as the business owners plates, and we could fully own that process. So that's what we kind of do at TaxHero. Yeah.
That's cool. So you saw a problem and there was no real easy button for the solution. Not saying it was easy to build, but easy for the retailer to actually be able to use a solution, or the
Yeah,
seller.
correct. Yeah.
Wow. So how's that going?
That's good. It's been awesome. We have about 100 clients right now that are on
Okay.
TaxHero, and
Okay.
but most of those clients have been through word of mouth. So we just started our, marketing and everything like that with it. So kind of speaks for itself. We haven't really, lost any clients or anything like that. Like it's been awesome for the last like 2.5 years. We've been going and kind of building the solution. And I think because it's my second business, and my co-founder as well, it's his second business. And we just know a lot more. I learned so much with my first
Mm.
business that it was so much easier to start this and to do it correctly from the beginning. So I think even the first 2 years we've had TaxHero, we focused on the ops side majority of the time so that we could build it out correctly, take feedback from clients, and actually come up with a solution that there is a true need in the industry for. So it's been awesome right now building it up.
Well, isn't that so true? And if you're going to build a solution to a problem, make sure that the people that have the problem are
Oh,
an integral part of building the solution, right? Because otherwise
yeah.
you built something and you probably built the wrong stuff out.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's like the majority of the thing is like I see a lot of like, especially with the tech industry, a lot of people that are actually not like that are solving a problem. They're great engineers, but they're not really
Hmm.
the people and the users of that solution. So it's hard for them to really truly know like what the issue is. And they're relying only on like sometimes their customers, right, to tell them. And not all customers will give you feedback, right? Which is another thing. And I think that's what makes our solution very different. Like me and my co-founder, we're actually not engineers. We're accountants that had this problem and saw it with their clients that created a solution for our customers, basically.
That's awesome. So what about what would you say is the biggest, what do you see as the biggest challenge coming up? Like Or you could pick either business, your CPA business or your new TaxHero business.
The thing is that both of them have different challenges that I can see within them, right? So like I think for TaxHero, the service is very like it's clear. This is like sales tax. The operation side is actually pretty simple and easy. You're doing the same thing with every client. There's not very much nuances with it. But for my accounting practice, service is like in a service-based business in anywhere, it's could be like it's interpreted for, for interpretation basically, right? So like
Yes,
your
yes.
services could mean anything to anybody. Like if you say I'm doing a CFO service, what does that really entail? Like, right? Is a question that clients always have and could always have, and they might think it's something else while we're thinking it's something else. So that's always the issue with the service industry. Like, the scope of work, no matter how much you define it, could always be pushed in any
Mm-hmm.
way. So it does pose a challenge for us in that. And I think recently what we're interested to see in general with the industry this year is like last year we saw a lot of CPG and e-com brands lose funding. And so it was sad to see brands that we actually cared about lose funding. And so we're interested to see how this year, it being a weird year in the economy, just like so much has happened already in January that I'm like, wait, what? With the new president, and then even recently with the, just so many things that have happened,
Yeah.
that I'm just, it's going to be interesting to see what else comes out. I think that's going to be the challenge for both businesses is like, we're kind of entering into this year of like, we don't know what's going to happen. Everything is like unexpected. So we kind of have to roll with the punches and kind of be pivot in any direction. So I think getting ready to pivot in any direction and not knowing what's going to come in front of you is going to be a challenge for us.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you keep the right mindset through this?
Yeah, I think I always try to think about like plan for the worst, but hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
So like
I
my
like that.
mindset is always like, we got this, let's keep going. We're going to get through this, right? But I always still plan for the worst. Like, hey, if we do end up like, because clients can't get funding, if we do lose clients, what do we do? What's our backup plan? All that, I always kind of keep that in mind, you know? So that's the way I try to kind of keep positive, but it does get hard, right? And I think talking to as like I'm always in groups that I am with other business owners and talk to other business owners because it does get lonely at the top, right? Like as everyone knows, like it's hard being like in one of my business, I'm a solo entrepreneur, and the other one, at least I have my co-founder. So it helps a lot more. But even in my accounting practice, because I'm by myself, I have a network of other entrepreneurs that I like leverage, talk to, and we kind of build each other up, right? Like being like, okay, we got this. If I have referrals, let me send it your way, or vice versa. Or here's what I see that's been in the industry that's been kind of helpful for me, and kind of give and take there too. So I think surrounding myself around those people has really helped me even throughout the years. I think for me, since I started my business, no year has been the same. Like 2019 happened, that was my first normal year. Then 2020 COVID hit, so it's been like every year it's kind of been like, what's going on? So I think that's what I've learned is like being around, other entrepreneurs and other leaders has really helped me keep a positive mindset.
I love that. You're always ready to pivot. You're looking towards the target, and I
Yeah.
even the way you speak when you talk about the biggest challenges, you're like, yeah, this could happen over here, but we're going to keep moving towards the target, and we'll have alternative plans. But meanwhile, yeah, I'm not going to focus on that other crap because if it happens, it
Yeah.
happens. I think that whole mindset of a if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you better darn well just you're going to mow forward. Like
Yep.
I'm going. I'm keeping my
Yeah.
eye on the prize here, folks. Right?
Yeah, that's the way I try not to let that ball because it's not in your control. Like that's the one thing that I've learned
Yeah.
is like you can't focus on things that are not in your control, you know? And I think a lot of like entrepreneurs or just people in general, right? Like focus on that and can get too bogged down by that.
I like it.
Yeah.
So I think there's some value for folks that are in corporate. Myself, having been in corporate for really for most of my life, I saw the systems and processes in corporate, the some of the annoying stuff, some of the accountability stuff, succession planning, all other kinds of good stuff in corporate, and you get paid to kind of learn and be educated. What was
Yeah.
your experience? And I was shorter in corporate, but you're in a big four firm, and there's a pressure cooker there. Talk to me
Yep.
about kind of how you've taken some of those skills and deployed those in starting your own business.
Yeah, I think I'm glad that I did that first. I'm glad that for me personally, that I joined corporate world before I started my own business because it's taught me so much, like the resilience, the hard work. And I think the main thing that I learned from my job was like learning how to figure it out. Like I don't have the answers to everything, but I think it was like I have to learn to figure it out. Like use my resources around me to figure out the answer. And I think that's the best thing that I learned because like every day, like even the questions that clients will ask our team or that they'll ask me, like, I don't know the answers to everything, but I've learned the skill set of learning to figure it out. So like I will try to figure out what the answer is along with them and show them like this is how I'm figuring out the answer so that they can do it next time. But this is kind of like what I've learned, which I've always taken with me, and which has been honestly the major thing of how I was able to start this business.
I love it. You're so good at it. Learn how to figure it out, solve problems, use your resources, and you now are using the resources of other entrepreneurs for mindset, for keeping it positive, for figuring stuff out because people want to help.
Yeah, yep, yeah.
What's your biggest aha over the past 5 years? What is the thing that you're like, oh my gosh, if I would have just known this, I would have done it all different. I mean, you mentioned your first employee, but what else? What else is kind of a big aha for you?
No, I think that's the major thing. I think I made the mistake back in even like 2021 when I was growing a lot in my accounting firm of like throwing like basically hiring a bunch of people because I was like, we're getting so busy, we have so many clients, and throwing the people at the problem, right? Like, and I
Okay.
realized like, oh no, that was like such a wrong way. And I think I was so eager to grow at that time. Like I didn't want to stop the growth. So I was like, I'm going to take on every client. If any client comes to my door, wants to, work with us, I'm going to take them on. And then I slowly realized like, wait, like at a certain time the team was burnt out. It felt like
Mm.
we were not being profitable, right? Like we were taking the wrong clients in as well as like, I didn't get good use out of everyone I hired either. And so
Wow.
I think that was the biggest lesson for me of like, and that we ended up having to kind of restart a little bit with the accounting firm where we're like, okay, I took a step back. I was like, why did I start this company? Even just like honing into like my purpose of like, I wanted like a good work culture. I wanted to make sure we gave value to our clients and like had a good
Mm.
work-life balance even for the team. So I kind of did that. And then I fired all the bad clients, which was hard because you're saying no to revenue, right? Like you're saying no to the income
Yes.
part. But I was like, it just doesn't align with my mission and it doesn't align with my values. And so let go of that, including team members that were like, they're just not a good fit for us as a company and our
Mm.
culture. And that was the best thing I could have done. It was the best thing because now looking back, everybody on our team is like in the same mindset. Everyone loves coming to work. Everyone loves working with each other. And that's the company I wanted to build, including the clients. Like our team thinks of like each client, like it's their own company,
Love it.
and they truly love working with the people that we're working with. So I think that's like super important. And I think that's the culture where we're trying to build and have built.
That is awesome. I love extreme ownership of your clients, and I agree. I run a lot of sales teams, big sales teams, and the account executive or salesperson, they get to a certain level and they can't grow anymore, and they've
Yeah.
got to fire those or reassign the small clients that are taking all their time or they're a pain in the butt or demanding or sucking all their energy or whatever that is, and it's hard to do because you are literally letting go of income. But when you do that, you'll see exponential growth.
Yep. Yep. No, you're so right about that. So
That's a great takeaway. I love that. Okay, maybe two more questions if you don't mind.
yeah. Yeah, of course.
Talk to me about AI.
Yeah, AI, my favorite thing in the world actually right now. I'm like, it's going crazy right now, right? But AI is, so that's like a thing that so like I said, in our accounting firm, we're all about automation because we work with e-commerce and consumer product goods companies, right? There's so much data like that
Mm,
we have to go through. And at the same time, those brands, it's not like they're super profitable where they can afford to pay an accounting firm so much, right? So they also
yes.
come with only a limited amount of budget that they're willing to be able to spend. So we like quickly, I had to learn like, how do I use automation from day one to be able to do the work we are doing and still provide the value, but still not be too much time on our hands, but still be cost effective for the client, right?
Sure.
And so we've been using AI from the beginning. I think even with like our bill pay systems that we use, like everything that we kind of try to automate, it has some kind of AI with it. So I think that for us,
Mm,
that's a big thing. And I think also with my TaxHero company, because it is a software, that's something we're like trying to do even more of. Like, how do we feed, like, how do we
sure.
use the AI functionality? What, where can we build it out with our, with the sales tax, workflow and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
AI is like a big thing that we stress even within our team members, like even using Chat GPT, like don't go to it for like, technical accounting and tax guidance, but let's utilize it. Like if you need to reword an email and make it sound better
Mm.
and to do it quicker, use it, you know? So like we use it a lot in different aspects of our workflows.
So I like you're using it to solve problems. You're not building problems for AI necessarily to solve. I
Yes.
think there's a
Yes.
distinction there. And then
Yes.
you're using it as a resource, using AI as a resource versus using it as maybe the source
Yes.
to solve a problem. Like resource first, script it, and then use it, then use our brains, the best AI, use our
Yeah.
brains to actually implement, correct?
Correct. Correct. Because it's like, and people get scared about this in our industry. Like AI is going to take over bookkeepers' jobs. No, not really. I'm not like that's not a risk that I think is going to happen. I think no matter what, people are still going to have to use your brain, like you said, on certain things. And it can only tell you what it knows, right? And there's a lot of things that
Yeah.
like we don't know. Like we are all guessing as humans, even. So like that advice or that like, consulting that we would do for a company, we're not saying it's 100% going to happen either. We're saying it based on our experience and what we've seen and what we can tell and what we believe, which is something that AI cannot give you.
Yes,
You
100%.
know?
Okay, two more questions. Number one, anything you would suggest reading or learning based on your experience to be ready for the next 5 years?
I don't know. So I don't know about what you can read to be ready for the next 5 years, but my main thing that like I do every day or, just spend at least like 30 minutes doing is like looking at the current events and stuff in my specific industry that I'm working with. So like both tech, both accounting and CPG and ecom brands, I look at kind of like news stuff that has been coming out and like thinking myself like how is this going to impact my clients or impact me or my business. So like there's not really a specific book or anything like that. Like I'm all about reading self-improvement books and will continuously be doing that, because I think I'm
Sure.
all about improving myself and like till the day I die in a way. And so I will continuously be doing that, but I don't know if like that's going to actually prepare me for the next 5 years in terms of like I have a different problem every single quarter. I feel like, so I try to read books that like help me solve that problem. Like, oh, let me read a book about hiring the best person, or a book about letting go and or traction and getting more revenue. So each quarter is a different reason for me to kind of read, but I would say on a daily basis, I think it's really important for people to like keep up with their industry. And I think I told my team that too. It's like, you guys should also read what's going on in the industry if you like, because that's the only way they'll be able to grow as, advisors and just in the industry in itself.
That's awesome. Okay, so LN accounting, you all are still taking clients.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we are. Yep.
Okay, awesome. And then TaxHero, what do I have to be as far as a client to, if I obviously want somebody that does e-commerce in a bunch of states, is there any other requirement or how's that work?
No, no other requirement except that right now we are our app is like software integrates only with Shopify. So at the moment we're, a Shopify integration. So like if you're on if you're on Shopify, you're an ideal client for us. If you're not, we
Okay,
could work with you, but it would be case by case basis. And so we would just have to determine if you'd be a right fit and, vice versa. But ideally it would be clients that are on Shopify that are selling a product or service or a software, brands that are doing that. So
that's awesome. And broad strokes, because I remember I was in California when I think it was Amazon, that the tax, they started it in California, I believe, as I recall, because they like taxes in California.
yeah,
Uh,
I mean, yes, they do.
but if you're a retailer and you're selling in a bunch of other states, there's a tipping point where some point you're going to have to pay sales tax or they're going to collect sales tax, right?
Correct.
That's
And we're
basic.
happy, like TaxHero does a free nexus analysis, which means like we'll do like a free analysis where we determine if there are states that you need to collect in. And if
Oh,
they are, we'll tell you that. And then that's usually a good way for people to kind of see their exposure without actually like paying for any services yet.
that's awesome. And that just bolts on top of Shopify and sounds like a fairly easy process from a
Yeah.
retailer perspective.
Yep. Yep. So we can definitely check that. So
Awesome, awesome, Lahari. I'm thankful to have met you and congratulations on just doing awesome stuff. Wow.
thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. First of all, it was an awesome conversation. Very easy to talk to you. So I
Oh,
loved it.
well, likewise, you got a lot of game, and I'm sure your culture proves up what you say about being transparent, caring about your clients, being successful, owning your problems, owning your clients' businesses as well. Like that's a great spot to be, and I'm sure that's a big part of why you've been so successful. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Talk again. Cheers to you.
Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.